I want you to try something for me. Picture yourself on a completely average Tuesday. You're standing in the aisle of a grocery store, just staring at a wall of cereal boxes. Or maybe you're stuck in traffic, watching the brake lights blink in front of you, and suddenly the noise just cuts out.
Right.
And you have this moment of absolute terrifying clarity where you think, wait, what am I? I'm not just a person buying cornflakes. I'm not just a driver in a car.
Oh, it's that sudden vertigo of existence. You realize that being you is a really strange, specific phenomenon.
Exactly that. It's the feeling that biology, the eating, the sleeping, the survival stuff, it doesn't actually explain the full picture. I mean, why do I care about art? Why do I worry about the future? If I'm just an advanced ape, shouldn't I just be happy that I have a banana and a nap?
That is the classic ghost in the machine question that philosophers have been chewing on for centuries. It's the sense that human consciousness is this surplus, something extra that evolution didn't strictly need to give us just to keep the species alive.
Well, today on the deep dive, we are looking at a piece of source material that tackles that surplus head-on. It's a fascinating combination of digital art and philosophical text by a creator known as Iva Shavicki.
Yeah, and it's quite dense.
It really is. I have to say, when I first looked at this, I thought it was just going to be a cool image, but the more I read the text overlaid on it, the more I realized this is a full-blown metaphysical manifesto.
It is an attempt to map the entire journey of the soul, from where we come from, to why we are here, to where we are going. And it does all of that in about 200 words and one very striking image.
And what I appreciate about this source is that it doesn't hedge its bets at all.
No, not even a little. It has a very specific, confident view on what it means to be human.
But before we get into the text, which is definitely dense, we need to ground you, the listener, in the visual. Because the text is literally plastered over the scene, and the scene tells half the story. So paint the picture for us. If I'm closing my eyes, what am I looking at?
Okay, so imagine a massive cosmic scale. The backdrop is deep space. Swirling nebulas, starlight, that deep, rich blue of the void. It feels infinite. But the focus is on two massive, giant profiles facing each other, kind of like bookends to the universe.
And these profiles are huge. They take up the entire left and right sides of the frame, and they really couldn't be more different from each other.
Right. On the left, you have a face that looks like it's carved out of ancient volcanic rock. It's dark, almost charcoal gray,
Yeah.
and it's cracked. There are these deep fissures running across the cheek and the forehead. It looks heavy. It looks like it has incredible gravity.
Weathered is a word that came to my mind. It looks like a mountain that has seen a million storms, and then facing it on the right side is the complete opposite.
The profile on the right is made entirely of light. It's translucent, glowing, completely ethereal. There are no cracks, no textures, just the smooth white luminescence. It looks weightless.
So you have the heavy, cracked rock face on the left and the pure, glowing light face on the right. And then right in the middle, sitting in the empty space between them, is a tiny human figure.
A silhouette sitting in a meditative pose. Lotus position.
Yeah.
Just floating there in the void between these two giants.
Yeah.
And this is a really crucial detail. There is a flock of white birds flying up from that meditating figure, heading toward a glowing, almost divine figure at the very top center of the image.
It's a lot to take in. It feels epic, almost like a religious icon for a religion that doesn't even exist yet. But the text Iva Shavicki has written over this adds a whole new layer.
It does.
It starts with the definition. The very first line is, quote, "Me being a human means a lot."
I want to pause on that phrase.
Yeah.
It means a lot. It's such simple English, but in this context, it carries serious weight. It suggests that being human isn't trivial. It's not a throwaway state of being. It's a lot. It's significant, maybe even burdensome.
And the author immediately defines what being human is not. The text says, quote, "You are not an animal with basic need, i.e., I am hungry and I need to eat."
This is the first big philosophical stake in the ground. The author is drawing a hard line right there between biological instinct and human consciousness.
But hold on a second. Biologically, we are animals. If I don't eat, I get hungry. If I don't sleep, I crash. Is the author denying that basic reality?
I don't think they're denying the biology itself. They're denying that biology is the definition of you. Think about the example provided. I am hungry and I need to eat. That is a closed loop. Stimulus is hunger. Response is eat. an animal lives entirely inside that loop.
Right.
The author is saying that a human can step outside that loop. You can be hungry, and instead of just eating, you can write a poem about hunger, or fast for a cause, or just sit there and wonder why hunger exists in the first place.
Which leads directly into this hypothetical scenario the author proposes, and this part I found really haunting. The text reads, "Even if I am the last human alive, all alone."
The last man thought experiment. It's a classic.
But usually when we talk about humanity, we talk about connection, right? We live in a society. If I'm the last person on Earth, am I still fully human if there's no one around to talk to?
That is the standard anthropological view.
Yeah.
That we are defined entirely by our relationships.
Yeah.
But Ivaziki pushes back on that completely. The source implies that even in total isolation, even if you are the absolute last consciousness in the universe, that distinction remains.
So you're still not an animal.
Exactly. You still have that internal watcher that observes your own existence.
So if I'm the last guy on Earth, sitting on a rock, staring at the sunset, I'm not just waiting to die, I'm still processing.
You are still carrying the weight of being human. You still have the capacity for meaning, even without an audience to share it with. And that actually leads to the next line, which tells us why we have that capacity.
Right. The text says, "You have been given a chance to merge from where we all came from."
A chance. That is such a loaded word in this context.
Incredibly loaded. Because chance implies opportunity, sure, but it also implies risk. You don't call something a chance if the outcome is guaranteed, you just call it a process. A chance means you could potentially miss it.
And it also implies it wasn't an accident. You don't give someone a chance by mistake. It implies intent from a higher power or source.
Precisely. If the universe is just random chaos, there are no chances, only accidents. This source is arguing that your life is a specific assignment. You are given this. It's a gift or a test or a mission. And the mission is to merge from where we all came from.
Which brings us to the cosmology of the piece. The author has a very specific theory about the soul, and they don't seem interested in debating it at all. The line is, we all agree every living being has a soul.
I honestly love the audacity of that. We all agree. I feel like half the internet would fight you on that instantly.
Oh, absolutely. Having spent time in academia, I can assure you we definitely
No.
do not all agree.
Right.
But within the logic of this text, it is an axiom. It's a starting fact. The author isn't asking you to believe in a soul. They are telling you that you already do, so we can move on to the real point. And the real point is about the quality of that soul.
Okay, so let's track this logic. We have a soul. The text says, now when we are born, it's pure because it's straight out from the source.
Now connect that back to the image. That glowing white profile on the right. That is the source.
So the source is this factory of purity. It's pure white light. It's unblemished. And when we are born, we are little chips off that Earl block. We come out white.
Pure is the word used. And purity here seems to mean without history. It's blank. It's perfect because nothing has actually happened to it yet. It's the factory settings before the user starts messing with the device.
But then the user starts messing with the device because the text pivots right into the conflict. It says, life experiences change it. Born with experiences it.
The grammar is a little rough there, but the idea is clear.
Yeah, the idea seems to be that life is an active process of alteration.
Yes. Born with experiences, it probably means that we are born into a world of experience, or that the very act of living is synonymous with experiencing. But the key takeaway is the change. And the author uses a color metaphor that becomes central to this whole deep dive.
The quote is, "For egg, if the soul is white when born, may not be white when you die."
This is the crux of the entire philosophical problem.
It really sounds like a problem, doesn't it? I mean, usually we think of experience as a good thing. We say, oh, he's so experienced, he's lived a full life. But the author is framing this as a loss of purity. If I start white and life paints me red, blue, black, and gray, am I damaged?
That is exactly the tension. Look at the rock face on the left again. That dark, cracked, heavy profile. That is the soul after experience. That is what happens when a white soul goes through decades of heartbreak, joy, stress, labor, and loss. It creates texture. It creates cracks. It changes the color entirely.
It's a powerful image because that rock face isn't necessarily ugly, but it's definitely not pure in the way the light face is. It looks tired, it looks used.
And here is where the text traps us logically. Because remember the mission, the chance we were given.
To merge from where we all came from.
Right. So follow the logic here. 1, we come from the source, which is white and pure. 2, our mission is to return and merge with that source. 3, but living life inevitably changes our color. So here's the big question the author asks. So how would you merge from where you came from?
Oof. That is a brutal logical trap. If the source only accepts white, and I am now dark and cracked because I lived the very life I was supposed to live, how do I get back in?
Exactly. It is the paradox of return. You can't go home again because the you that left is not the you that returns. It feels like a setup. If I had to be pure to merge, then I should have just died at birth. But I didn't. I lived. I got colored. So am I just disqualified now?
That's a terrifying thought. It's like realizing the key you were given at birth doesn't fit the lock anymore because you bent it while you were using it.
And this is where so much human existential angst comes from. The feeling that we've been ruined by the world, that we are too cynical, too traumatized, or just too changed to ever be at peace or pure again. The author lets that question hang there for a second. How would you merge?
I feel like most people stop right there. They get to that realization, I'm broken, I'm different, and they just spiral. But Iva Shavicki actually answers their own question. And the answer isn't some technical instruction manual.
No, it's not. Do 5 Hail Marys or meditate for 10 years. The resolution is incredibly personal. The text reads, "My journey is ongoing. I know the destination."
There is a lot of swagger in that statement. I know the destination.
It's a massive pivot from logic to sheer certainty. The author acknowledges that my journey is ongoing, meaning I am still being colored, I am still cracking, I am not done changing. But that change doesn't confuse the direction. They still know exactly where they are going.
Then comes the final line, which completely resolves that paradox we were just stuck in. The text says, "Rest, I am sure God will guide me."
This is absolutely fascinating because it introduces a third party. Up until now, it's been strictly about the soul and the source, you and the universe. But now, the author brings in God as an active agent.
So the solution to how do I merge if I'm the wrong color is basically that's not my problem.
In a way, yes. The author is saying that the mechanics of the merger, the way the square peg of the experienced soul fits back into the round hole of the pure source, is the divine's responsibility. Your job is the journey. Your job is the experience, the guidance, the reintegration. You trust that to God.
That requires a massive amount of surrender.
It really does. It reframes the whole color issue. Maybe the source doesn't actually need you to be white to take you back. Maybe the guidance is about translating your unique experience back into the whole.
Let's look at the birds in the image again. We touched on them earlier, but now that we've read the text, they seem way more important.
I think they are the literal visual representation of that line, "God will guide me." You see the birds launching from the meditating human who is sitting right here in the messy middle and flying up toward the light.
They are crossing the gap.
They are the bridge. The human figure isn't trying to jump all the way to the light face. They are sitting perfectly still, generating these birds. Maybe their prayers, maybe hopes, maybe just the soul's raw intent. And those birds ascend for them.
And the figure in the middle. Let's talk about their posture for a second. They are sitting exactly equidistant between the rock face and the light face. They aren't turning away from the rock.
That is a crucial observation. The human figure isn't rejecting the cracked reality at all. They're holding the tension between, I am a biological creature with a history of the rock, and I am a pure soul from the source of the light. They are balancing both simultaneously.
That seems to be the very definition of the human the author started with. Me being a human means a lot. It means being the bridge between the dirt and the sky.
And recognizing that you don't have to choose one or the other. You don't have to be a pure angel, and you don't have to be a mindless animal.
Yeah.
You are this specific, weird, complicated thing in the middle that gets to experience both sides of the coin.
It makes me look at that cracked face differently now. When we first described it, it sounded kind of grim. Volcanic rock, deep fissures. But if that's the result of the chance we were given, then those cracks are kind of the point, aren't they?
They are the evidence of the journey. If you return to the source, completely smooth and white, it would mean you refused the chance. You didn't engage with life. The cracks mean you played the game. You took the ride.
So the author says, I know the destination not because they are perfect, but because they trust that the destination is waiting for them with all their cracks.
Exactly. Notice how the light face on the right isn't recoiling from the rock face. They are facing each other. It looks like a conversation or a reunion, not a judgment.
That is a wildly comforting thought, especially for anyone who feels like they've messed up their purity along the way.
It suggests that the color you accumulate, the grief, the joy, the mistakes, the triumphs, isn't dirt to be washed off. It's data, is what you bring back to the source. It's saying, here is what it was like to be human.
Here is what it was like. I love that.
It completely turns the alteration from a tragedy into a purpose.
So we've unpacked the art, the definitions, the paradox, and the resolution. And I want to bring this back to the person listening to this right now, maybe with their headphones in on the subway.
The modern-day meditating figure, surrounded by all the noise.
Right. Most of us aren't thinking about our souls 24/7. We're thinking about work deadlines or what to make for dinner or that awkward thing we said 3 years ago. Why does Ivashippi's perspective actually matter on a random Tuesday?
I think it matters because it fundamentally changes how we categorize our stress. Usually we treat difficulties as interruptions. We think, I would be happy if I just didn't have this problem, or I would be pure if I hadn't gone through that trauma.
We see the coloring process as damage.
Exactly. But if you adopt this view, the difficulties aren't interruptions at all. They are the texture. They are the brushstrokes. If you are stuck in traffic or dealing with a heartbreak, you are currently in the process of being colored. You are actively fulfilling the chance.
It really takes the pressure off trying to be perfect.
It takes the pressure off trying to remain white. You can't. And honestly, you shouldn't. The goal is to let the experience happen, knowing that the destination is fixed. I know the destination. If you know the train is going to the right station, you don't have to panic every time the ride gets a little bumpy.
You can just look out the window.
You can just look out the window
Yeah.
and trust that you will be guided when it's finally time to get off.
That is a much better way to get through a week.
It certainly helps keep things in perspective.
So here is the thought I want to leave you with today. We talked a lot about the soul as a canvas, starting white and getting painted by the experiences of life.
The inevitable coloration.
I want you to look at your own life right now, the stress you're feeling, the excitement, the exhaustion. If your soul is being painted by this exact moment, what color are you turning?
And a follow-up question to that. Are you trying to scrub that color off? Or are you letting it sit?
Because if Ivashippi is right, that whatever it is the ticket you need for the destination.
It's not a stain, it's the story.
Something to think about. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the cosmos and back.
Always a pleasure. Keep thinking.
We'll see you in the next one.